This is Monocle on Design, a show where we discuss everything from architecture and craft to furniture and graphic design. I'm Nick Manise. On today's program, new products to help you stay cool, exploring narrative design with London-based studio Pirajean Lees, plus our favourite music venues and the songs of the summer. All that coming up on Monocle on Design. Grace Charlton, Monocle's Associate Editor of Design and Fashion. Tell me, are you good with the heat? London has been so hot. Do you cope?
I've realised that maybe I am good with the heat because I don't think it's been that hot.
Okay, I'm going to pick this up with you. I'm in the same boat. But, have you been doing anything to survive?
I guess, top tip, I'd recommend putting yourself through a record-breaking heat wave in Paris first so that anything by comparison feels like actually quite cold. Another thing I like to do in a similar vein is I go to hot mat Pilates on Sundays.
A little brag in there.
Which, it's when you work out in a room that's heated to about 40 degrees. It's hell. And then anything else after that.
But most people couldn't handle it, but I can handle it.
And the teacher loves me.
In India, they have hot chai tea to cool them down. Is it the same sort of effect?
Yeah, I think so. And then the other thing I do, I have been sleeping with a fan on, but I also sleep in linen sheets. Which
I love linen sheets. You know that
such
feel
a hack.
of getting into bed and it's textural. I can't think of the word, but
they're rough.
I kind of end up running my feet all over them. It feels so nice.
Yeah,
it feels un-Australian to complain about the heat. But I mean,
true. I agree.
But I have been complaining about it. But I use it as an opportunity to talk about Australia. There's a few things there's higher humidity here, and the buildings they trap in the heat. And I realise that in Australia, because the majority of the population live on the coast, we're all set up to engage with or enjoy sea breezes. I even remember as a kid, my mum would open up all the west-facing windows in the afternoon and we'd wait for the sea breeze to come in. It was so good. It's so cooling that they call it the Fremantle Doctor, because it comes in off the port. It fixes everything. You can be cranky, tired, hot, irritable, maybe having heat stroke, and then the Fremantle Doctor comes in and just cools everything down.
But you're not in Perth right now by choice. What do you do to sort of recreate that feeling of a Fremantle Doctor breeze when you're in London and there is no breeze?
I do not open my curtains at all. I don't have any block-out blinds though, so we're still getting lots of light coming through, but that really does keep things so cool. What I've also noticed and what I think we've both seen is this has just been reported, I guess, in various design news publications, but there's this Japanese vending machine manufacturer called SDRS that has built this human scale for one person stainless steel fridge that people can just go and sit in to cool down rather than opening the fridge door and standing in front of that. This is a fridge you can get inside.
Yeah, when I saw the description, I wasn't sure, but then I actually clicked on it on the link and it's kind of chic. It's actually not too bad. It's all stainless steel. It's like the anti-sauna in a way. You
framing it like that has changed my perception of it, because initially I was like, well, this is just another classic sort of gimmicky design thing that somebody's doing to drive attention to their work. Kind of why not? We use saunas for its own health benefits. I'm assuming there are health benefits in this. They say that it can help stave off heat stroke in just 20 minutes. There is maybe a little bit of it that speaks to this Japanese culture of having a design solution for everything.
I don't know. Part of me is is it really defeatist? Climate change will not be fixed, so we just have to find different ways to
crank those generators up and get in the fridge. I've always
AC
said
everywhere, bro.
If everyone turns on their air conditioning, we lower the temperatures, global warming fixed. Would you use one of these in public?
I'd have to be on the verge of fainting.
You mentioned that you're in Paris. Have you seen other kind of design interventions that are maybe helping to cool us down?
Paris is the worst example.
There's no design intervention.
There's literally nothing. I've been seeing online a lot of references to these Japanese jackets that have inbuilt fans. Have you seen these? They make people look like the Michelin Man while they're walking around. I don't know if they can be stylish, but give me a few years and I'll be like, you know what?
Well, my thing is, I feel
Big boy summer.
I already kind of am looking like the Michelin Man. So maybe an inbuilt fan, that could just be my excuse. I think there's also something in simple fixes too. This is what I've observed here. We had a lot of tile in our house, just in the wet areas, but growing up, kind of tile surfaces and stone surfaces that really do help cool buildings down. They are fond memories. My childhood dog, Harry, sprawled out on the tiles on a 40-degree day and you couldn't get him to move, but he was just so much cooler lying there. This is the other thing I kind of alluded to earlier. I noticed in Sicily, a lot of these kind of indoor-outdoor curtains just draped over the front of the buildings or from inside and then draped over a balcony. And I like that it's a really simple intervention that isn't permanent. So like they feel perfectly appropriate in winter, but come summer you can kind of drape them over the balcony or the balustrade railing and create this little pocket of air that's being cooled by the shade. But you're still allowing, especially if you're in a coastal area, you're still allowing for a breeze to come through. I think that's kind of what I'm going for with my semi-transparent curtains in London. This chat also kind of made me think about this design intervention I saw at Dubai Design Week last year. There's a young Emirati studio called Some Kind of Practice. You know, within the first 12 months, they were exhibiting at the Venice Biennale. They won this commission for a pavilion at Dubai Design Week, and they constructed their intervention around the idea of the liwan. It's a traditional covered portico that's sort of like the transitional space between the indoor and outdoor areas in Emirati buildings. And I realised it's more or less the veranda in Australia. As soon as you're kind of in a city and the density goes up, we lose these intermediary spaces that provide a little bit of shade and a welcome to a building. And you can also kind of use them over the course of the day as the sun moves around. And it made me think, are there moments where we can look to introduce those sorts of interventions just to kind of provide that buffer point? I don't know if there's anything more to it than that, but I just like the idea that we've been kind of finding ways, particularly in hot climates, of building with the heat for centuries.
The thing is, you need the luxury of space to sort of incorporate that. Also, I think people have just sort of gone full steam ahead on AC, so maybe we will be losing the veranda, but I like the spirit of it.
I think you're right, and that's probably why Australian cities tend to sprawl. That's why as soon as you're outside of the shiny, central business districts of Emirati cities, it is all kind of low slung. There is that luxury of space.
We're going to go to an interview now with Pirajean Lees. Nick, you spoke to them, but they're a London-based interior architecture and design studio. Founded in 2017 by Clémence, Pirajean and James Lees, the studio specialises in luxury hospitality, a topic we love.
We love it.
With a strong emphasis on narrative design. First of all, Nick, can you please explain what narrative design is?
It's not about visual design references. It's about looking at the emotion or a story behind an object or a place that they're then going to draw inspiration from. And it's not about explicitly drawing aesthetic inspiration, but more about, tapping into feeling, emotion, and using that to kind of guide everything from the form to the function of the space. I just thought that was quite a cool way of looking at things.
How would you describe their style, though?
Well, I think by taking that approach, it's quite varied. Like, they don't have a signature, but I do think that everything in their spaces feels considered. Like, I think sometimes architects are just purely maybe thinking about the skeleton of a building, thinking about the structure, thinking about the bones. And then you sometimes get interior designers, which is all just about, I guess, furnishing other people's spaces. But it's a kind of that total design approach where it's possible. So they're looking at everything from, the architecture, the bones, the structure of a space, right down through to the furniture. A lot of their projects have bespoke furniture in it. And I think you kind of feel that coming through. I mean, they do work at all spectrum of things. They were involved in the redevelopment of Coco, which is this 120-odd-year-old Grade 2 listed theatre and music venue in Camden. But their specific domain in this was the House of Coco. So that's the backstage area and the members club. You're probably not getting an invite to that, but I imagine you've been on the dance floor?
I have been on the dance floor of Coco. I went and saw Little Sims, invited by Mew Mew, no less.
Very,
it was
very
such
cool.
a fun night. It was so good, but I kept getting lost in a different VIP area.
What made the night out so good?
The music, to be honest.
It's funny you mentioned they're getting lost. That was part of their aim with this. It's the whole idea that it becomes a maze of vinyl listening booths and bars, and there's restaurants dotted throughout the space and dining rooms. I was there for opening night, and you can kind of work your way up to this dome-like attic bar. I don't know if you've ever been to a press night where you're one of the last people there. I was with Fernando Augusto Pacheco, our esteemed colleague who hosts The Stack, and we just kind of stayed sprawled out in this lounge area at the very top, just getting cocktail after cocktail after cocktail. And when they eventually closed the space at 1 a.m, we weren't done. We ended up wandering through various bars in the area on a Wednesday night in Camden, staying out as late as we could. I think it was worth it. I think we built some social cohesion in the workplace, despite the hangover.
I'm so jealous I wasn't there. That sounds like my dream night out. You, Faye,
And obviously there were DJs in the House of Coco areas. Faye's putting in song requests. It was incredible. Do you have a favourite club beyond the exclusive VIP members area of House of Coco? Where are you going to dance, to let it rip on the dance floor?
I feel like my clubbing days are so over. This is the main problem. Like, I'm trying to think of like the 2 clubs that I hold.
Let's go back to what's on Grace Charlton's top 2 listing of nightclubs.
But what's funny is that neither of these places are like design at all, and one of them is actually shut.
Talk us through.
Okay, so number 1 is Garibaldi's in Edinburgh. It's the dingiest club you will ever go to. If you can smell it when you walk in, you're not drunk enough. And you go down these stairs and there's a stripper pole because the Edinburgh University Amateur Pole Dancing Society practices there. And there's also a Mexican restaurant. They do a thing called Garibaldi's Special, which I think is like maybe different, like 20 different types of liquids, just all put in one big plastic carafe, and you like sip it with a straw. The music is awful. You can like request songs from the DJ. They don't care. They don't want to be there either. It's just you. And there's like a light up floor. Oh my God. Best nights of my life. The other one is Java Club, which shut down a few years ago now, but that is incredibly Eurotrash. Like it's got pink lighting, purple lighting. It had like one of those massive Damien Hirst inspired like bedazzled skulls in the middle.
Very briefly was like, wow, Damien Hirst.
In the middle of the dance floor, and people would come in with like bottles of Jägermeister with the sparklers coming out, and they would play like Inda Club or something. It was so fun.
But this place is closed down. Do you think that's because they were letting underage people drink there?
For sure. And I have to say I contributed to that reputation. What about you, Nick? Where do you go to boogie?
I seem to be in this weird phase of life where I'm doing a lot of dancing at either Monocle staff parties or weddings, or my friend Sam Yates, incredible drum and bass DJ, goes by Swamp Man. He's got a residency on Cool FM. I will go to any and all of his gigs. He's played at Phonox. That's the only time you'll find me in a club. When he's playing somewhere, I'm a good friend. I'll go along and ask him.
No, I love having DJ friends. Shout out to my friend Amelia.
Where does she play? I'm imagining her on a boat in Ibiza.
She is literally just on like Ibiza, Miami, Tomorrowland, whatever it's called.
Incredible.
Yeah.
If you're a DJ, we're not going the coolest tunes. We're going your tunes of the summer. Are there Grace Charlton's 2026 top hits?
I don't think the music I've been listening to lately is particularly summery, but I've been listening to Red Dragon by Salem, which is their new-ish album. They're the creators of a genre called Witch House. I can't imagine you enjoying it, Nick. So I've also put a second option in there, which I think is a little bit more up your street. It's House Tour by Sabrina Carpenter. And I would say it's the #design song of the summer. Nick, what about you? What have you been smashing repeat on?
Mine would be Audrey Hobart's Sue Me, which I have been playing non-stop, but I think it will speak to you. If we go the first little chunk of it now, you'll hear this wonderful reference.
I knew you'd be at the party, drinking a Coke and Bacardi. Not that it matters, but I'm breaking patterns and getting so good at Pilates.
Isn't that nice? Are you not getting so good at Pilates, Grace Charlton?
The teacher said I have really good form last night. She said, "Did you do ballet as a kid?" I said, well, "Yeah."
Okay.
I went for the arabesque squat to scooter, and she was like, "Whoa."
I'm conscious of this turning into a brag fest, and the fact that we should probably get
I think you should come to Pilates with me. I think this is what the main lesson is.
Maybe we can invite Clémence and James from Pirajean Lees to Pilates, but first, let's go to my conversation with them now.
We are a narrative interior design studio. We insist on the narrative bit because that's a true reflection of our approach, which is not just interior design or interior architecture. It's based on a narrative, and we couldn't really work without it. So to make it very clear for everyone, clients, talent that's interested in the studio, we are a narrative interior design studio.
That's fascinating. 2 things jump out at me from that. One, were you ever just an interior design studio?
We always worked in a strange way. Do you see what I mean?
We've never worked in a way that doesn't involve a narrative. I think it's become more and more important in our process over time. And now it's a definite non-negotiable. We can't really work without it.
Basically, we're rubbish designers if we don't have a narrative.
I want to go into that a little bit more, but the thing that's kind of jumped out at me now is narratives often have an arc. Do projects have an arc?
That's all dictated to us by creating these narratives, right? So not only like when you read a book, you project the space and the people that's in it from the story that you're reading. That's the only way we can work. But yes, we understand what the interior of a space might look like, but not only that, how it will evolve, what its atmosphere and ambience will be. And that's all dictated to you by the narrative, right? So yes, there is a start because you follow a journey through entering a building, what happens within that building, and we can dictate that happening from our narrative.
the narrative can guide the layout, it can guide the materials that you're using, the textures, and what the narrative does is it doesn't give us any design references. It doesn't show us anything visually. It's all about the feeling, the character. How do you want people to feel? What do you want them to remember when they leave the space? Even if it's your home, it's all about feeling, and spaces are for us to feel something or experience even before we see them.
In Formentera.
Yes.
Inspired by a tree.
Inspired by a tree. And the tree is called?
It's the Sabina tree.
Sabina tree.
It's a pine tree.
It's a local tree that grows, but they're protected. But they're quite beautiful because they're hyper-sculptural. So
they bend with the wind.
They move and flex with the wind. The wood, the density of the wood is so intense, it's really hard to cut it. So it's perfect for construction, right? And once it's cut, and it sits in its position, it's like an iron sculpture. So it's really cool for like beams and structural works and doing pergolas and stuff like that. But it's a protected tree, right? But we loved it because of its sculptural element. It's so beautiful when you look at it, and each tree is different, and each one grows relative to its environment. So when there's less water or bend one direction, this is where I can get really geeky on trees. I won't get too geeky. But how it flexes towards water and how it flexes away from water, and wind direction and salt levels, and it works with everything. So as a foundation, a narrative for our house, it was perfect, because that's what this house is going to do, right? It's going to flex with us as we grow, our kids grow, as Clémence's parents are there, and it will change over time. So we wanted something that represented that. Also, it's something that was originally in the building as beam structures, and then we wanted to do this pergola structure, but we had to go and find reclaimed pieces, right? Because we couldn't use...
Because it's protected.
It's protected, yes. Which was a feat in itself, which was quite amazing. But as a narrative piece, it just fell into our laps. It's perfect.
So then how does that translate to a physical space? I mean, you mentioned flexibility there, and the home can flex and change with you. What does that actually look like, or what's the system that's in place to allow that?
Okay. I think for us, I think for us it's... it mirrors the approach that we took on designing this house, where we don't want it to be fixed in time. And we know that because of the nature of our family and having young children, we can't get it right now. It'll be right at this second for right now. But for us, this is a very...
It's like we said, it's like a workshop.
Exactly. We want it to change with us and evolve. And I think this is what the tree does as well. What this specific Sabina tree does is it evolves and it grows. And that's our approach for the house. That's how we designed it. First thing we did when we got the keys was just to sit in the house and do nothing. Just feel the house. How do we want to live? And it was
actually quite pleasurable because both of us just sat there sketching for like 2 days.
And we had spray paint and we were spraying the walls and let's do this here.
So this is an existing house that you then renovated? Yeah.
It was more of I keep saying it was more of a sculptural project. Like drawing-wise, we did some drawings. But a lot of it was done by hand on site. So it's more of sculpting the interior, right?
What's the benefit to working in that way?
We had never done it before.
Are you going to do it again?
I don't know.
Well, you're still married, so it's
true.
Still together,
It worked. It was an experiment. It worked. We work with clients that have strict deadlines, and we had to produce drawings and specific times and technical drawings and integrating mechanical, and that's what we do all the time. So for us, it's quite a relief just to go, let's just breathe. Let's go and play with it. Let's enjoy ourselves and play. So it was more of a, sculptural playing around.
Yes.
Back to the Sabina tree, when you talk about how it ebbs and flows and, changes, we were able to carve the interior rather than redesign the interior. It was more carving it out, right? Getting rid of circulation and corridors and making big spaces, and bedrooms don't have corridors. You open straight onto the garden. So you have to go into the garden to get back into the house, which gave us more flexible space internally, as friends come and family are there and our kids grow and their mates come. So it's getting more space and flexibility and openness. And also spaces of privacy. So friends can come but not be disturbed for the day. That was really important because it's great being with friends, but like my dad always says, friends go off after 3 days.
As you're walking into this space, you've got a visitor, they don't know the narrative behind it. Will they immediately be able to make those sorts of links? Like, will they immediately know, oh, this is inspired by a tree, or is that completely irrelevant and not really important for somebody that's coming to the space?
I think it's a nice story to have for someone who owns a house and wants to tell the story of how they designed it. When it's a professional hospitality, it's restaurant, hotel, members club, our clients love to introduce that story into their brand and take it further than just the interior. Sometimes we inform the brand or the brand informs us. So you can use that story as you want, but what is nice actually is that people can't identify what the narrative is. Otherwise, we would have done it in a very obvious way.
It's not a gimmick, right?
Yes, exactly. It's not an obvious answer to the narrative, but they understand the feeling. So if you tell someone the story of the House of Cocoa and you tell them the narrative,
which will take about 3 hours.
But even just giving people a very short version of this is giving you unprecedented backstage access to how a theatre would have lived and breathed. Okay, you have access to all of the spaces that no one would ever see. It's a rabbit warren. We want you to get lost.
I have been lost in there, just to be clear. I've been there a couple of times now and have got lost.
That was the goal.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they say, oh, yes, of course, this is this and that is that. And then they can link it to their experience or to certain spaces. But I think it's better if people can identify what the narrative is. Otherwise, it's a theme.
It's more the emotion of a space
Absolutely.
rather than the text or the realisation.
I'm curious as well, so moving, I guess, from interior architecture to furniture, and we can talk about, you've got your own collection now, but all of your interior work really is about narrative, so it becomes very, very place-specific. Mm-hmm. You're often making furniture that's place-specific, mm-hmm. Bespoke for projects. How does that then translate when you turn it into an edition? When somebody takes something designed for the House of Cocoa, for instance, and is then using it in their own home, mm-hmm. does the narrative then disappear, or does it evolve into something new maybe? Or how does that happen when you're taking something specific and I guess putting it in a new place?
I think because we design 90% of furniture for most of our project because they're very connected to the narrative. When they are taken out of that and bought by someone into their own home, I think that narrative goes with it because it spent so much time thinking and contemplating about this piece of furniture. If you take House of Cocoa, there's a punk bench. It's like this really cool bench with little holes in it. It's not in our collection yet.
No.
It will be though. It's really cool.
Foreshadowing. I like this.
Yeah. But it's based on the punk movement of Camden in the late 80s. That's ingrained in it. You can't take that out. So someone who comes to buy that piece but doesn't know anything about cocoa, we'll give them the understanding and reasoning why that chair is like that is. So anything that has a deep narrative in it, it's ingrained in the product. We can't change that. What
about for both of you? If you're bringing other people's furniture or objects into your home, I'm curious, as people that are so, you design storytellers, do you pick up on other people's stories and bring them into your home? Yeah. When you're all of a sudden on the other side of the fence, what's that like for you?
It takes a long time, doesn't it?
It's hard to make decisions.
Yeah, we argue a lot about
what to bring in. I mean, this has been a long-running theme on this show as well. I mean, Grace, my co-host, talked about buying a sofa for about 4 or 5 months. But, that is a natural part of it. You're talking, You're trying to unpack and work out what's going to complement your own story.
I think a lot of time is pieces of furniture that we are inspired by and other designers that, we think are fantastic and we really enjoy the work that they do. I think a lot of our furniture pieces in our house, one, have to be robust because of the kids and the number of kids running around there, right?
But they have a story, and I think some people say, oh, your designers, your house must be incredible. It's great for us. It's not a design exercise. We have things we've collected over time that don't work with what's right next to them, but it means something to us. We have a bench from my grandmother, a clock that you've inherited from...
It's really ugly.
but sometimes ugly things can be beautiful in their own way.
Yes, exactly.
It depends where you put them, right?
As long as it has meaning to you, you shouldn't feel the need to control it too much. And where it's hard for us is we do this all day as a job, as our profession. So it's hard to be on the professional side and the personal side at the same time because it's not the same way of thinking and it's not the same decision making. So when we are doing a project for someone else, everything has a reason and everything works with the narrative. When it's our own home, whether that's in London or in Formentera, there's a lot more emotion in that decision-making.
My thanks to Clémence Pirajean and James Lees there. We kind of touched on the fact that they want to be narrative-led at the top, which I do really like. And I guess if you're designing a house inspired by a tree, how do you not make it a literal tree? I know that sounds like a really dumb thing to say, but it's a thing that does jump out at you. I mean, would you be scared to walk that line?
It is a fine line to not veer too much into like kitsch or camp. It reminds me of the seminal essay by Susan Sontag, Notes on Camp, where she sort of defines things that are camp. And often it's when there's like a really big element of artifice in there. And she gives like a list of examples, including Swan Lake, which I think is hilarious, and Tiffany lamps.
So these are like the handmade stained glass shades. Mm-hmm. She's just saying essentially that that's not authentic.
But I think it's also like the association that you have with the Tiffany lamp now makes it camp. I don't think camp exists in a vacuum. I think it exists like
in a broader context.
In the context of like performing your personality or your taste.
So like you were saying, feather boa could be camp.
Yeah, flapper dress, camp.
Okay, gotcha. I'm getting this. Well, this is why I think that Pirajean Lees probably, to your point, don't stray into this, because I think what they're doing is they're not doing that literal interpretation. They're looking at the meaning behind their source of inspiration. You know, we talked about their own holiday home. They're not simply recreating a home in the shape of a tree native to the area. Instead, they're looking at the qualities of that tree that is native to that area, which makes it a perfect reference point for architecture, and then distilling that down into how they might flow from space, the actual inspiration for the structure itself, but not in terms of an aesthetic language, but rather a structural framework. So I think they're really good at distilling down the quality and separating that from the aesthetics. And maybe that's what, you know, we're talking about Susan Sontag there, but maybe that's what she's getting at. It's where they don't separate the quality from the aesthetic and they kind of blur into one. They also mentioned that sometimes ugly things can be beautiful if they have meaning. Does that ring true for you? Do you have objects in your own home that carry meaning that maybe aren't the most attractive thing?
No, I do. The first thing that jumps to mind is I've got a little lucky Shiba Inu, you know, like one of those lucky cats, but it's a little dog and it's solar power operated and it just waves at me. It waves at me. Towing the line between beauty and ugliness is the best kind of beauty. In French, you call something joli là, or you call a person joli là, and it's when they have like slightly off-kilter facial features. Nick, what about you? What's the ugliest thing you own and you just can't part ways with? Because actually you find it quite beautiful deep down.
I kind of like hate that I have them, but I like having them. I have like baseballs from various ballparks I've been to. As discussed on the show many times, I like sports. And I think they're maybe the chicest bit of sports memorabilia that you can have. Like I'm not going to have like a team poster or even Australian rules football is too big. But a little like baseball sitting on a shelf I kind of just like, and I see that. The other thing I have that I've kind of kept as a running joke, but for Christmas a few years in a row, you gave me really ugly pottery that you had made yourself. And it's just, I'm never going to take it home because it's too ugly for home, but it's become this thing that now sits on my desk and it makes me laugh every time I look at it. So maybe that's also falling into that same category.
For sure. And by the way, I love a handcrafted gift, so if you ever want to return the favour.
I don't know if you want anything that I've ever made, but maybe that's something to think about for next week, because that is all for today's show. For more design stories, pick up a copy of Monocle magazine. Today's episode was produced by Hassan Anderson and edited by Elliot Greenfield. I'm Nick Manise.
I'm Grace Charlton. Thanks for listening.